Well, hello there, YouTube. This is Mr. Gibson Guy, and thank you once again for stopping by my channel. It's nice to have you visit here. Today's video, I'm talking about kind of a continuation of the last video I did, and it was brought on by the arrival of this case a few days ago in the mail. I purchased, I think this was on Mercari. Purchased a camera, only it ended up being a camera and a whole set of stuff, and that got me thinking about this, and I wanted to make a video about this too, because this is something about camera collecting and camera values and things to think about. And I'm going to draw the parallel with the famous violin maker of the 17th century, early 18th century, Antonio Stradivari, who during his lifetime built, I think the number was like 220 to 240 violins, Stradivarius violins, and he built a few violas, built a few cellos, and I don't think he made any basses, and supposedly he made a few guitars too, but that was before the modern guitar was developed, so they don't seem to be of extreme value. But his violins certainly are, and exist, something that somebody's really looking for. In today's values, Stradivarius violin will go from multiple hundred thousands of dollars up to several $1,000,000 for one instrument. He actively made them from the 1680s up to early 1700, and his hallmark was high quality construction, superior materials, and of course very limited supply, because these were built a very long time ago. And researching pricing of late model digital cameras, this is a continuation of this story, recently I came across some interesting information about digital cameras, mirrorless cameras, electronic SLRs, and that is that a lot of the places that are listing used digital cameras for sale actually mention in the ad approximately how many images have been made with this particular camera before it went up for sale. And it looks like if they made 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 images, then the camera's pretty good. But then if they've started making like up to 10,000 images, stuff like that, people start getting concerned. And that would be an indication that the sensor, the eye in the back of your digital camera, has a certain life expectancy, a service life, as for how long it's going to make good images before that sensor starts losing its sensitivity to light. And once that happens, you degrade your image and you don't have some great picture that you're going to take anymore. It's time you got to buy another one. Things are expensive. Now, we don't have that same thing when we're dealing with film cameras, vintage film cameras. Now they have lots and lots of shutter advances and resets, but by and large it's not going to degrade like digital cameras promise to do. Yet there is a light sensor in the light meter that's in some cameras, but that just measures, that's pretty basic, just measures the amount of light that hits it. It's not trying to do 3 different colors and do digital images and stuff like that when, where you're talking 26 megapixels or 50 or 100 megapixels or something like that. That's a lot of sensitivity, and that would give a definite, distinct service life to the digital camera that's not as much of a concern for vintage film cameras. Especially if you're talking about the mechanical timed ones. That's something that is of concern, but really those clockworks are going to last multiple hundreds of years. And so we're left with thinking it won't affect us. I'm 72, it's not going to affect me. I don't know what age you are. Probably younger, but maybe you're older than me. And you know, I'm not worried about my camera dying out now because I'm wearing it out. But I think we have to, that's what this case got me going, we'll think about the long term, where your camera's going to go. I mean, if I'm lucky, I have another 10 or 15 years. I'm living life. I'm pretty healthy. You know, I would hope to do that. But beyond that, you know, I'm out of here. I'm gone. It's time to move on. But this stuff, what's going to happen? My daughter going to inherit all this stuff and take a portable table out in the front yard or in the driveway and set up a bunch of cameras on there, Nikons for $5, Canons for $12, Contacts, how about an Olympus, $3, $2 for a Minolta or a Pentax. So I have to take into consideration, while I'm still around, I should be responsible enough to give her some ideas. Oh, maybe you could call KEH, or you might want to try listing something. Probably you don't know that much about it, but know that there's some money here. And the longer it goes, like Stradivarius, the longer I last, the more they're worth it. Now I'm really talking about 50 or 100 years after I'm gone. She's probably not going to be around either, or our granddaughter, my granddaughter. But it's something to think about when I, you know, when I had been collecting my Nikon cameras, a couple of Nikon cameras and some lenses, for 3 decades. This was where my camera collection was. It was in the Nikon bag that was filled with the Nikons. And that was my camera collection. And then in recent years, I branched out and, you know, retired, have regular income coming in, and not that much for living expenses. So I had a lot of, still do have a pretty decent disposable income. So that's why I have lenses stacked up and cameras stacked up here, because anything that I wanted to buy when I was 27 years old, I certainly couldn't. But now I've lived long enough that I can, and I have. I know I got all kinds of specialty stuff that I couldn't have dreamed of having when I was 25, but now, yeah, I'm sure I'll take that. It's $250, $300. Okay, it's from 1954, and it's in beautiful condition. It works. Nikon S2, or maybe a Canon that looks like a Leica. It was $200 or something, and it works. All kinds of stuff. But I have those, and it really pains me when I just picture my daughter out in the driveway with a table full of cameras selling them to everybody. Everything must go. All right, 50 cents, good. Kind of hurts, doesn't it? So I'll have to give her better information so she's well educated about that before I'm making my exit. But when I got this case in, and this is Solidex case. I've never really heard of these. I think they're more for video cameras and stuff, but they got it. In my day, what we used to see the ad in every issue of Popular Photography and Modern Photography was this spread on zero Halliburton aluminum cases. And they had a 100 and a 101, a 102, and a 103, and a 104. Everyone got bigger. And they had these advertisements where they would show several cases opened up, and you could see the cameras and the lenses and the flash units and the motor drives and all the other accessories that they had in the cutouts where you put the camera in, the camera and the motor drive, and the camera and the motor drive and the lens, and you have all your equipment right there for you. You know, those things, the cases were light because they were aluminum, but when you put in a camera or two, some batteries, and a lot of glass, some lenses, these things start getting really heavy really fast. But it wasn't really the thing about it. The thing about it was that this was kind of your treasure chest where you kept all your treasures, like your Stradivarius violins, and you could keep everything in there. You know, this guy had left notes with his stuff. He has, look at this. The OM4T for your creative photography, the OM System Winder 2, the OMT Power Control 1, another OM4T book. Something dropped down there though. All kinds of stuff. Yeah, because this came with all of this close-up lighting that you can put on this if you want to make portraits, and that was this guy's thing apparently. And it comes with this special flash unit, which is a controller to two separate ones that this connects to the lens of the camera, and you got one here and one here. You got two flashes coming out. Specialty stuff. And that was what this guy did. And so I you know, just kind of daydreamed about it and tried putting myself in his shoes. You know, I'm going to guess the guy is a little bit older than me. I started with my camera stuff when I was 27 when I first got my camera, and it was a Minolta. I didn't have a whole lot of money put into it, but I had dreams of the stuff that I was going to get. And of course, this is when photography was just blowing up. Film photography, everything was coming down, and they had the auto exposures and the programs, and then they went to autofocus, kind of ruined it. But I had my dreams of all the camera stuff that I was going to have, and some of it ended up in the Nikon bag. And then recently I've got to fulfill all my unfulfilled dreams and get everything that I wanted, but I couldn't get back in the day. You couldn't get all of it. I was married, had young kids, home, job, career, all that stuff, and you don't have that much time to devote to it. But what you can devote to it is just golden. And when I opened up this case and I looked at the camera inside and I looked at all its flash stuff, and it was supposed to come with a 50mm, but instead somebody substituted this silly Vivitar 2 power converter, and it seems less junky than the Vivitar 2 power converter that I had in my system, but still it's not anything that I'm thrilled about. But the case, I could open that up and I could really appreciate what the original owner was going for. And then I sit there and I think, well, I think his daughter sold this, and she started a Mercari store with her little daughter, Cherry, and her picture on it for her grandpa's camera equipment to be sold. And that's where I got mine. But the vintage film cameras, he may end up being treasured like Stradivarius violins 100 or 200 years from now. And when I look at this camera case, I see the culmination of this guy's dreams beyond the responsibilities of adulthood and being a husband and a father and a grandfather and, you know, having a career, all those things this guy had. He also had the world of photography that he could break away from whenever he got his chance. And he could fill his case with what he considered as the perfect photographic gear for what he wanted to take pictures of, and put it all in this case and close it down, and his dream was safe. It was his treasure chest, just as this Nikon bag was my treasure chest for many years. I kept my Nikons in it before there was the Canons and the Olympuses and the Minoltas and the Contacts and all that. But now I got this much bigger treasure chest for somebody to have to sell and get the money from. But when he got old, he, as much as he locked it up safely and kept the keys, to the case, he can't take it with him. He had to leave it behind. And then it became left up to his wife or his daughter or his granddaughter or his kids or whoever, his nephews, his brother, well, his kid brother. Anyway, all that treasure, and somehow it's got to move on because it's going to be desirable, it's going to be valuable, and I hate to think about it disappearing in a yard sale for $5 or $10. So you hopefully leave the message behind to your heirs that they know what to do with your camera stuff, or else when you think you're getting pretty old, you start selling it yourself. But one way or another, in the long term, somebody's going to get a lot of money off of this when it reaches a certain point into the later 21st century, or working towards the beginning of the 22nd century. So I understood what was going on in this guy's head when I looked at his equipment, and I see the same thing with my cabinet. Because at this cabinet, every time I open the doors, it's always 1980 in there. Never changes. It's 1980, and I'm 27 years old, and I'm fit as a fiddle and young and ready to go. I've just got all my dream cameras here, and it's like I get to be young again. I don't have to worry about wearing reading glasses. Oh, you over there? But that's something to consider about that. Yeah, I will point out that this is an OM4T, and just came in, and I have here an OM4Ti. So that says that I have two Olympus OM4 titanium cameras, and I'm going to do a video on the differences between two identical cameras, because there is differences. Wouldn't you just know it? And before I sell one of them, I'll have to put it together and do the whole video for two titanium OM4s, and how cool that is. I would like to keep both of them, but I got to be realistic. I can't keep the money tied up in that. I have to change it around. But I have one. Can't really justify keeping another one, even though they're a little bit different. So, if you found this enjoyable or thought-provoking, especially if you're a senior kind of person who knows you don't have that much long to have your cameras, you can drop me a like and subscribe. Put a message down there. I always love to read the comments that people write to my videos. It means a lot. I try to answer all of them, many as I can, and give me ideas for new videos to do too. So, the Stradivarius of the 23rd century is right there in your cabinet at home, just waiting for you to take it out and enjoy it. Till the next time, this is Mr. Gibson Guy. I'm out of here.